everyone, welcome to this week's video. This week's parsha is Vayetze. Vayetze means, and he left. Who left? Well, Yaakov leaves Be'er Sheva, and he's heading off to Haran to find a wife. That's right. His parents tell him, you cannot marry a Canaanite woman. You must find someone from our family. Go to your uncle Lavan. Maybe there's someone there that you can meet, a relative, and that way you will raise your family in the way of our ancestors, of Avraham and of Yitzchak and Sarah and Rivka and so on. And so he leaves and he stops in a place on the way, and the Torah says that he lay down to rest. When he lay down to rest, he put stones around his head. Why did he put stones around his head? So the Rashi says he was afraid of wild beasts. He wanted to protect himself from animals. But the obvious question is, if he was just protecting his head, what about the rest of his body? So a wild bear eats his torso and he's left with his head. What is that going to help? So the Rebbe says an interesting point I want to share with you. The head, the stones around the head, yeah, he wanted something around his head is symbolic of protection of the most important part of my body. Let me explain. Yaakov is on his way to Lavan. He's leaving the home of his holy parents. According to tradition, he stopped on the way for 14 years to study in the study halls of Shem and Aver. He spent years immersed in the holy spiritual cocoon of his family. And now he's going to go into the world. He has to get a job. He's going to raise a family. He put stones around his head as a way to say, I need to protect my mind. I need to protect my brain. I need to protect my consciousness. What am I going to be immersed in? Is my life going to be my work? Is the work going to completely absorb every waking moment of my day? Or am I going to have time for family, for friends, for study, for prayer, for God? This is really the question. And by symbolically putting those stones around his head, he's protecting his mind. He's making a point to say that as I embark into the world and I get a job, I'm going to make sure that my mind is protected. This reminds me of a story many, many years ago in the old country in Russia. There was a chassid who had a galoshin factory. The rubber boots that go over the shoes, that was his job. He sold these, he made them, he sold them. And he came to visit his Rebbe for the holidays. And the Rebbe overheard that he's telling people all about his business and the rubber and what he uses and so on and so forth. And the Rebbe went over to him and said, I've heard of putting feet in these boots, but I never heard of a head in the boots. And that's really the story, beautiful story. The point of it is that as we go into the world, that we have to protect our mind. The problem is that when we work, we see things are urgent. We see immediate results. And quickly, I got to do this deal. I got to make this phone call because this and this is going to happen. But investing in our spirituality is not an instant result. When we spend time with our spouse, with our children, it's not an instant thing. This takes time to develop. And over time, we can see the results and the impact, but it's not instant. And this is what's vying for our attention. On the one hand, there's quickly make the deal. On the other hand, I could spend time with my kids tomorrow. I could spend time with God tomorrow. And then at the end of it, when we ask people, what do they regret in life? Our regrets are we didn't spend time with family. We didn't develop our spirituality. We weren't there for our children. So friends, let's not replace the urgent for the important. Let's not do what's urgent in place of what's important. What's important has to come first. And that's symbolically what Yaakov is teaching us. With that, I wish you a good Shabbos.